Chapter 1. Exile. The rain beat an erratic rhythm against the small window panes as the wind whipped the droplets to its whim. The young man sat alone in the wooden booth, his hands clutching a pewter tankard. His vacant stare turned from the droplets running outside the imperfect glass to the bubbles that broke the surface of the golden liquid. As he breathed in, he felt the sweet smell soothe his senses. The fact that this was his fifth refill had a much greater calming effect than he would have admitted. With each sip, the pain across his back subsided slightly. He leant forward and reached back to his jerkin. It had stuck to the wounds, and he gently prized the material away. The pain was still fresh in his mind, but it was his pride that hurt the most. He had taken the lashes without a murmur of complaint. The punishment wasn't the problem. As the onlookers had laughed, a rage boiled inside him, tormenting his mind. The animal within called to him, begging him to react, to strike back at the worthless tutors and students who reveled in his failure. Since reaching manhood, he had been enlisted in the Purian College of Arms, a path every man born in Puria followed. The centrally controlled school taught each citizen the ways and methods of war. The island nation of Puria was fiercely proud of its isolation, and they had successfully defended their shores from all invaders since the dawn of time. The young man excelled in martial combat. His overtly muscular physique and his unusual height had made him a natural fighter. A solitary figure, he shunned social gatherings, choosing instead to train and practice his katas and patterns alone. He enjoyed his alienation from the other recruits and thrived on their fear when in his presence. He had no concern for their hatred and jealousy, but this had made his life difficult. He was in the last cycle of his education, but had felt the lash on countless occasions during his tutelage. Only recently the tome master had warned him about his behavior. He had threatened him with exile. For those who did not or could not make the grade, deportation was the only option available. Although he surpassed all the other students and most of the tutors in armed and unarmed combat, he had struggled with the teachings of strategy, engineering, and morality. The idiosyncrasies and subtleties of these subjects found no purchase on his black and white mind. It was in a morality class that the head prefect Yatal had twisted his words. The loathsome student was a supreme debater and had enjoyed dishing out a humiliating tirade. The young man had answered the taunt in the way he knew best and had sent him sprawling across the classroom. The thought warmed him. The stifled banter of the tavern was suddenly interrupted as the door crashed inwards. The storm entered the small, dimly lit room, and with it entered 3 men. The last one through turned and leant his shoulder into the door, struggling to close it against the deluge. Shaking water from their clothing, they unwrapped their scarves as they made their way to the bar. 3 jars, please, barman, asked the lead man. The voice made the lone man sitting in the end booth stir from his tankard. He eyed the 3 new arrivals and smiled to himself as he saw the bright blue welt on the side of the front man's face. He inadvertently sniggered to himself. The sound was not lost on the young man who had just ordered. He strode towards the booth, sloshing his ale onto the stone floor. "Well, look who it is," the man turned to his friends. "The freak, Ruin, has decided to drown his sorrows. Or perhaps he has been filling his tankard with his tears." The 3 men laughed. "Hey, Yatal, isn't this our booth?" asked one of the young men. "I think you're right," replied the lead man. "Hey, freak, you heard my esteemed colleague. You're in our seat. How about you move your sorry carcass? Actually, I think it best if you left altogether. None of us can bear to hear you sob into your drink." The 3 laughed in unison. Ruin slowly took a sip of his mead. He placed the tankard methodically back on the table.